Good morning. You're watching Morning at NTV, and over the last couple of weeks, we've been having a discussion around women's rights and women's issues. In fact, yesterday, we had a representative there from the UNFPA saying it's important that as we have this discussion on letting people live their dream, you should let girls be girls. But we cannot have a conversation around women without involving men. And joining me in the studio is an activist and an author as well, Semaganda. Good morning.
Good morning, Flavia. Thanks for having me.
I will have to mention that you have a book. I said author, so he's written a book. Is it about poetry? You have
a
collection of poems. Yeah, it's called Enough. You know, we do have a bookshelf here on the show.
That goes straight away.
Yes. So you will be the first Ugandan author whose book goes on our bookshelf here.
Show.
Yes. So well done on that one.
Oh, I should pat my shoulder.
Yes. So you have poetry, and these poems are around what?
These pieces of poetry are about everything to do with society here.
Yes.
But most importantly, to do with the things that take up my biggest heartbeat. Women.
Yes.
Children, the girl child especially, and social justice. And many times someone will run into me and say, by the way, why enough? You know, and I'm saying...
Enough is the title of the book.
Enough is the title of the book. But, and I think every one of us has a story. Every one of us under the sun has a story with that one word, enough. And I think whatever it is that we've had to go through as a society, whatever the pain that we've had to suffer, whatever the pain the women, for example, and the girls have suffered, if you are able to get the courage to at least say enough, and I think that's where, you know, that's where the window comes.
It's interesting you're having this conversation because this year, especially from last year till this year, we've had many people come out to say the hashtag #MeToo, and people telling their stories, women saying that if you think your story is so special, wait till I tell you what has happened in my workspace. It's not just in the home, it's different places, it's my colleagues, it's my brothers. And so it's gotten to a point where we can't have a conversation in helping women's plight without involving men. And last week we had a gentleman who has a camp for young boys who says, if you don't train these 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, you're going to end up with men who do not know what to do.
Very soon they'll be men.
Yes.
But they should be men with substance.
Yes.
They should be men with something
to
know how to treat a woman. How do you go about these things?
Yes.
So, and I think it's the best approach to take. We needed to have involved men as soon as, I don't know, 50
Are we
years
late?
ago. No, we're not so late. But the point is, we are not where we need to be. But I think I would say we are not where we used to be. We've had efforts, and I'm calling upon everyone to bring out these efforts, especially men, you know, to get involved in these issues. The women have had their voices out. They have tried for some time.
Yeah, the He for She campaign says that gender equality is actually a men's issue.
It is.
It's not a women's issue.
And until we realize that, women don't achieve much.
How is it? How do you think it's a men's issue?
Because you see, Flavia, the undeniable facts that 90% of the perpetrators of some of these heart-sinking crimes are actually men. Check whichever report you want to check, research and all that. You'll check that 90% of the perpetrators, or beyond even 90% of the perpetrators, are men. So
speaking of perpetrators, let's just break it down for people who are watching. What kind of issues or challenges or plights are we discussing? Obviously, there's gender-based violence.
There's gender-based violence. There's defilement. There is actually now, we are talking of marital rape. It is something a lot of people want to go tight-lipped about, but it is happening. It is in these homes. It is in these marriages. And she's been carrying on for quite a while. She's stomaching the pain for quite a while. But these things are happening. There is marital rape. I mean, simply putting it, the fact that...
There's no consent to it?
The point is consent.
Yes.
Now, the lack of that suggests straight away you're forced someone into it.
Yeah.
And it happens. And there is a bit of the silent screams that go about. If you check in this book, there is a piece somewhere, the title is Silent Screamer. Now, it is very suggestive of the fact that someone screams almost all their entire life, but not even the closest neighbor can hear because of a number of things. Now, we need to break this silence, and the silence should end not tomorrow, not next week, but now.
Okay. Yes. So, of course, when you're discussing women's issues, girls are part of this, because just like we're discussing,
it's
men
from
and
girls
saying
that we have
boys, we get men.
It's from girls that we have
And
women.
it's not, before you get to gender-based violence, you have, as yesterday we were saying, let girls be girls. You have girls in a home, you have 3 boys and 1 girl, and the boys are priority to go to school, and the girl isn't, because you think at some point you can sell her off for marriage or things like that. So one of the biggest problems we have is culture, Sam. Culture is embedded in us. We're Africans, we're Ugandans, and certain lines don't get crossed. In this discussion, where is culture?
Culture is quite playing a role. It's playing a very huge role, because you see, culture is who we are. It's actually not just who we are, but it's where we've been.
Yes.
It's who we've been. It's where we come from now, and we've been so much entangled. We've been so much locked up in there that even despite the fact that we've had numerous campaigns about this, we've had several approaches to this, government, civil society, NGOs, and all that, culture is still quite a point in this. Because you see, we may talk about these things in Kampala. There is a woman in Zimbabwe, where I come from, down there, and she's not the kind of person to receive this information every day. She's not.
Yes, she doesn't have the access.
She always subscribes. She goes back to this community where she subscribes. She goes back to this community. Even, by the way, with the Kampala woman, with the corporate woman, many times we've had these women out on TV, on social media, on media platforms, speaking about all these issues in groups. Now, a very ugly twist about this story, about these women we hear, the women we look up to, society looks up to, young ladies look up to, is that most of these voices are actually loud when they're in a group. Many times
you can't speak out when you're alone. But still remaining on the piece of culture, what part, I wouldn't want to rip apart everyone's culture and say culture is wrong. I mean, I know my culture, I know what values I should hold. True to it, some have tried to modernize certain things. Semaganda, you're Muganda.
Oh,
yes.
Sure.
So you probably, as a man growing up, have looked at certain pieces of your culture where you think, as much as that has been upheld for a long time, I feel like it's not helping us in advancing in our plight for women. What are some of those things?
Can you imagine, in modern day Uganda, we still have issues to do with widow inheritance. We still have, we still have issues. Where I come from, I've never met my dad. I was born the morning after the evening of my father's death. Oh, sorry. So the only dad I ever knew in my life was my mom. So I started life with a single mother. And I'm telling you, some of the things I talk about today, some of the things I put my voice to today, come way back then. I saw her struggle to deal with very patriarchal, very hard-thinking issues to do with, she defied, for example, widow inheritance. And I was watching as a little boy. I watched these things in society, in communities where I came from. And these things are still rampant. Somewhere in society.
The family takes over the property. The woman has no say.
Now look at this. There is also still issues with to do with widows, for example, trying to have hold of their late husband's property and fending for the kids. You know, and these land grabbing relatives, the humanizing and all that. It's still rampant. These things are still in society where we come from.
So what part of that is culture? Is it the saying that the family owns?
The family
or the widow
owns,
has no voice?
The woman has no voice.
Or the woman has no voice.
The place of a woman in our culture, where we come from, has been something different. And we need to engage, we need to talk, we need to sensitize, we need to pick people, bring people to the simple realization that, by the way, this woman is as human as possibly any one of us. She has rights, she has dignity, and we need to protect her.
We were having a conversation earlier, and you were telling me how you want to hear the leaders, the women leaders. You know, we have a our Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, and many people look up to her and say she has a place, and women feel like she's representative of us. So not just her, of course, you have women in Parliament and different leadership roles, and you were saying that you need to hear them speak out a bit more.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to hear? Because I think they do speak out.
They have actually.
Is it a case of speak out from your own experience? Is that what you need them to do, to speak from their own experience, or to generally fight for the plight?
The bit that makes that a bit hard, for example, to speak from their very own experiences, possibly many times, if you're talking about the leaders, the positions they hold. Now, with those positions come a lot of, expectations. What should I say in society and all that. So it's very hard to break that silence sometimes. So you'll hear them jumping on campaigns, you hear them putting a voice on campaigns, but most of the time it's very hard for someone to speak about their real experience, personal experience.
Let me tell you, Sam. For example, someone is going to see a woman, you know, an MP on a drive or a protest, you know, fighting for women. And maybe the issue is to say equality in wages. You know, that if I'm a woman in the same position as Sam, equal opportunities, why should I get paid less than Sam in the same position?
Oh, sure.
And that's where my voice is. But because I'm an MP, someone is saying, Katiuono. Do you know what I mean? I feel like society diverts to something so unnecessary.
Oh, yes. And I think, but still, we need these voices to be heard. The voices of the women in leadership, we need to hear them heard, possibly harder than before. But also, there is a case of this individual woman. When they leave us as a group, when they part ways as a group, they've been on TV, you've been on a campaign and all that. Many times, something I've been trying to follow up for quite a while now. There is a story of this woman who parts from the group, who leaves the group after the discussion after that. She follows her lonely walk to her trouble, back home.
There is strength in numbers, isn't that better?
There is strength in numbers. But the stories, the confessions, maybe I should use the word confessions. The confessions I've had along the way is that this woman is still as powerless as she was when she quits the group, when she leaves the group, when she takes her road back home. She's still going back to this society. She's still going back to this unsensitized man. She's still going back to this man that treats her like trash and all that. So, and I think, for me, that's where the knack should be. The knack to get men get involved in these issues.
You've given a good example. I'm in a group of women. We're activists. We are making, you know, all the noise we can. We're bringing light to a situation. But then I'm going to go home to a man who batters me. I'm going to go back to a man who doesn't feel I have an equal place in society. Or maybe my partner at home understands, but maybe the workplace is not favorable. Maybe my boss doesn't understand my needs and my issues in the workplace. But if I leave the group and I'm alone, what then? What then can I do? Not what do I do, but what do you think is available or accessible for them to do? Because when you're with a group, you feel like there's a possible solution.
There is.
You feel like someone might do something.
There's some protection around.
Yes, there's some protection, with a ring of protection around you. When you are alone with your partner or in the workspace, wherever you know you're having the inequalities, what can you do alone?
Very challenging.
Yes.
Very disturbing. Actually, for a very long time, it has been very heart-sinking. Which is why we get to have stories of silent screamers. Because you see, we are in situations where this woman is into that kind of relationship, but you may find she's financially down. She cannot, you know, find a way to support herself. And now there is also an issue of kids. There are kids involved. So many times her hands, she's like in an open prison. It's so open, but you can't stretch your leg out because of a number of things tying you down. There is
so one, I hear that, encourage women to work.
Encourage women to work.
Be sustainable.
Access to finance, for example.
Yes.
Very, very important. And I've seen lots of efforts now from you know, the government and the civil society and financial institutions to get women have access to finance. We need to get women to get things moving so that she should feel she's not this woman who just, you know, put down the carpet and before you know she has no way out. She has no voice.
And I also feel we need to stop saying including women. What do you mean including women?
They should be part of the deal.
Yes, we're already part of the deal.
They're part of the deal.
It shouldn't be. We should discuss inclusion of women. You know, I think that word already assumes
inclusion.
Yeah,
they're out.
Yes, we're out. And but before we get into your work and your book, just maybe if you could really just quantify or qualify the role of men in women's issues and rights. You are an activist for women, which is rare to see that.
A male activist.
Yes, a male activist. We always think if you're an activist for women, you're a woman.
Yeah.
Because we always assume you'll understand better and all that. And in your work, what would you feel is the one issue that describes the role of men, or what one thing describes the role of men in women's issues?
Very interesting question, Flavia. I happen to be places presenting my works, especially works to do with the rights of women and the girl child and something like that. Someone asked me a question at some point. I was with a group of women, and they had invited me to speak to them about issues that I speak about, issues that tell their stories. And after, I think I presented a piece from this book, and the title is Silent Screamer, and then I followed it up with Enough, which is a piece in this book. One lady put up a hand and, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry, but may I ask, have you been a woman before?
Have you?
You ask me the same?
Hey!
Like, serious?
You need information. Have you? No.
No, I've never been.
Clarity.
But you see,
yes.
I've never been a woman, of course. I mean, nature is different. I've never been a woman. But the point is, I do not necessarily need to be a woman to understand, to appreciate her plight, and to speak about it as a man. Because in this case, for example, in Silent Screamer, I present the case of this battered woman who screams silently throughout their entire life, and not even the kids can hear, not even the closest neighbor can hear. And I'm saying we need to empower her, to give her a voice. Now,
okay, so but what is the actual role of men?
Is it
the empowering women? Is it speaking out with us?
As we go about empowering women, we need to get this man to the realization. Many times we hear stories in society and say we need to face the truth. This time I'm calling men to kiss the truth. Don't simply face the truth. Kiss the truth.
What's the difference?
I mean,
you face it.
Yeah, but this time, I mean, kiss the truth. Get close.
Get close to it.
Up close.
Right. Yes.
You know, and maybe personal with the truth, and say, I need to do something, because you see, if you do not stop, conditions around her may not actually empower her to find a way out, to find a window out. So if it is going to stop, possibly I believe it will have to start with men, with the perpetrators themselves, coming down to their senses and say, oh, by the way, this lady in my house here is as human as possibly I am, with rights, with the dignity. You know, she has a heart that beats. She has blood in her veins. I need to treat her as equal as possibly any other woman, I mean, human being. So men should realize that these people are as human.
Worse as human,
yeah. I would also love to see a man come speak out, come empower, come cheer the woman on, and I would love to. I'm not married yet, but how I look forward to cheering my woman on. I mean, empowering her, and because you see, it is not the fact that she's a woman.
Okay.
Treat me with dignity. Somewhere that poem reads, treat me with dignity, you man, not just because I'm a woman, but because first I'm human.
Human, yes.
How I wish we looked at things like that. Not simply because she's a woman, but hey, how would you treat your fellow human being? How I wish we start from there. So men have that role, and it is incumbent upon them to take the cow by the horn and do something about it.
Okay. So you believe, inform yourselves as men on what's happening.
They need to have information.
Yes.
And by the way, some other times, Flavia, it is very disturbing to realize that the perpetrators of these crimes, very hard-sinking crimes, are very aware of what they're doing.
Okay, so they know what they're doing.
Actually, they know what they do, but we've had issues to do with male ego and something like that. You see, I'm a man. I'm talking this morning, there is a CEO in this city. There is a name in this city who battered the wife in the morning before leaving for office, and he walks up into office, and everyone is standing. Oh, good morning, MD. Good morning. I'm not the kind to care your kind of title or whatever it is, but as long as your actions, character, and all that, and this can stop, not by rocket science. No way.
We don't need intervention.
We don't need to go to the moon. We do not need to. These guys know.
Yeah.
This CEO knows. This honorable minister knows. This MP knows. This cool dude in town knows. This handsome cool dude in town knows exactly what to do. But I mean, it's simple petty issues. You know, male ego and something like that. And this should stop, not tomorrow, not next week, but now.
Didn't we have an MP saying that? Sometimes you beat women because of
You've
love.
heard of such voices.
And you're a member of parliament.
And
then you say, okay, I didn't really mean it. I said it because you can't go back on that.
And that's the tragedy, Flavia. Many times we've been led by our misleaders.
Yeah, but you see, I don't think the tragedy was really that only he said it. It's the fact that some men actually believed,
there are men that cheered on.
Yes, there are
men some men that cheered on.
Yes.
They may not have come to the screen or social media, but they could have.
Because they were afraid of being looked at the same
some men
but
could
some
have
men
cheered.
actually
You can imagine. Now, if we still have that rooted in society, if you still have, how could you even dream of that? And you have a microphone before you, and you speak that as a member of parliament, it is very hard-thinking. Very hard thinking. Okay,
so as we wrap up, of course, I think the biggest takeouts I've had from this conversation is that the role of men in women's issues starts with you realizing that women are human, just like you. I think once you have that set, then you same standards that you'd want to be held in, then at the same standards you're called a woman. So I've had Semaganda, who's an author, A Harvest of Poetry from a Life of Questions Seldom answered.
We seldom answer these questions.
So this is enough. I don't know if I can get my co-host Mala to come here because this is a big one. We're having our first Ugandan book. Let me hold it up for everyone to see.
Enough is very lucky to
he should sign it for us.
Oh, sure.
For the morning show. Please, please, you should.
I should be able to sign it.
Yes, please. Because, and yes, we would like to have as
what
many
a moment for this book.
the team at Morning at NTV, and it will be the first Ugandan book on our bookshelves. And of course, if you're a Ugandan author, please feel free to bring us great content. We'd like to hear from you.
Please get your team here to say enough. I would love to hear many more. The guys on camera here shouldn't say enough.
How much we're paying them. I don't want to do this. Did you publish this yourself?
It's in Aristoc. It's in all bookstores in town. Aristoc and Book Point. And it's also on Amazon. For our people. It's already on Amazon. So the world is reading this. And I want to hear as many voices saying enough as possible.
Do you have an audio version?
The audio version is being worked on.
For us lazy readers.
Yes, for us lazy readers.
But you should go down to the ink, my dear. You should go down to the ink and read the ink.
We should read it
but
a bit
we
more.
are doing some other bits with it, in audio versions and something like that. There is a way we want to craft it to see that it suits the purpose. And I believe it will go a long way.
Okay, so you're signing it for the Morning at NTV team.
This is Morning at NTV.
We also have Andrew Chamager, if we can have him with us. He was in Natate. I don't know if he's moved, but just as he does that. This is published by your media.
This is my media company. Our company is Black Candle Media, we are dedicated to publishing stories that tell our stories.
Okay. So if someone is watching and they have a good story that defines us as Ugandans and Africans.
And because of this book, so many Ugandans have walked in. They have brought their stories, and we're working on stories right now. We are dealing with a number of book projects right now, and the stories are very exciting. I'm like, oh my, we need to get these stories out there.
Fantastic.
We need to
so we'll want the signatures and publication, and it goes to our bookshelf. Andrew Chamaguru, are you with us? Good morning.
Yes, I'm coming to you live straight still from Natate. Well, first of all, I want to thank the guests for that book offer. We'll read it. We'll learn from it.
Andrew, before we went, Andrew, you made a promise that you'll tell us if you will officiate your union with your mutala.
Yes.
Are you convinced enough?
Go to church and get married.
You ladies are ganging up on me. You need to know when I'm legalizing my marriage.
You know what, Andrew? Actually, what the experts said, you don't have to do a wedding. You can actually go and get get a civil marriage, get it registered in the office. Yeah, you don't have to incur a lot of cost.
Well, from the way things look right now, it seems a lot of emotions. I don't want to make an emotional decision on national television.
but you have to make an emotional decision. They said that marriage is about love, it's not an acquisition or a merger. So make a decision.
Marriage is about love, but have we thought about that marriage fluctuates when it's coiled around love? Only love fluctuates with time, economic times, and the like. I could actually deem it on the end of the understanding bit. That's what I would go for.
You didn't. You're not making sense. It fluctuates, then economic, then political, then both.
What is this guy feeling?
Exactly. You're being asked. What are you feeling on?
Okay, so you're not going to get married now.
There is a piece in this book I would love to dedicate to Andrew. Get married soon.
So our guest is going to write a book, Get Married Now, dedicated to you.
There is actually a poem in this book. The title is Get Married Soon.
All right, so we're running out of time. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We'll leave you to ponder on whether you actually want to get married next year, in 3 years, or during the next presidential election. So, depending on your ambitions.
So, we'll go bit by bit. Kwanzaa, we had Flavia get engaged, so let's allow it to sink in. Let's let it settle there.
He doesn't want to do the
I wonder who that Flavia is, but that's okay. Thank you so much for the book. This will go right there.
Oh, right there?
Yes. I'm not sure if the camera can pan and you can do the honors of actually placing it there.
Yes.
Mala, you can.
Shall we?
Yes, please.
Okay, I have the pleasure to do this.
And
Yes.
by the way, we have so much space. This is only for Ugandan authors.
Can we all, as Ugandan authors, please fill up this bookshelf?
Exactly.
Where exactly would
whatever space you want. What do you like? Which space do you like?
I think I'll place it over here.
Okay.
And if you ask me, I've played my role.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. And please read the book and enjoy the book.
Definitely will. All right. We're out of time. We have to wrap up. Do have yourselves a lovely morning. The hashtag is Morning at NTV. Perhaps Andrew, to you as we say goodbye. Andrew?
Yes, Flavia.
Yes, perhaps
All I
you
can
can
say
wrap
is
up
that we have
first.
had a great conversation here in Natete. When to marry, how to get it legal. This is a conversation that is still running around my border peers around here in Natete. Even the people, they're saying marriage needs to be a lot more consultation work before you actually seal the deal. But this conversation is still running on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The hashtag is Morning at NTV. Let's keep the conversation getting. I'm a part of it now.
Correct. Thank you so much for being part of this great conversation. We'll keep this going next week. Remember, same time, same place, from Monday to Friday. And always remember, you have the solutions to the challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. Have a blessed weekend. Bye.
You're watching